Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as she travels the vortex and arrive at episode 512, where we're going to do great at Supermarket Sweep. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
Good. How's everybody else doing?
Pretty good.
Made it to another year.
Yeah. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to our listeners. Happy New Year to you guys.
Did you guys have a good Christmas?
Yeah, well, mine was really nice. I got, inadvertently, we got 2 Oculus Quests.
Ooh.
I saw a login on our Instagram. I figured you had gotten at least one, not two.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the plan to get 2, but I had it on my Christmas list last year, and I had it on there all the way up until about September or maybe even October of this year, because we use Elfster because my family, that way family can look and see what things we like. And I had it on there, and I thought, well, that's such a large purchase price. The only people that would buy is my mom, and my mom probably wouldn't buy it because she always tends to find other things. And so I took it off. And then Mason had it on his Christmas list, and Caitlin had said she wanted one. And so I thought, okay, well, this is what I'll do. We'll just get one, and Santa will bring it to the family, and then we'll just have one, because since we all want one, we'll have one to play. So I ordered one and wrapped it up, Santa wrapped it up, put it under the tree. And we went to my parents' Christmas Eve. Now, this is before we gave it to the kids, but I went to Christmas Eve at my parents' house before we were going to go to Hutch. And I take this box, and it's interestingly shaped in the way that I know because I've already ordered one. And I open it up, sure enough, that's what it is. And I thought, oh. And I had already told my mom that, there was a reason why I'd taken it off, but I didn't tell her what it was. And she showed that. So as soon as I opened it, she goes, "Did you get one?" I said, "Yeah, for the kids." So we have 2. So the kids have one, and I have one, and we just call it good. Of course,
now you can do stuff together in the games.
Caitlin seems to think she wants to take one of them to college with her, so back to school with her. So I don't think that's going to happen, but
I don't know if I trust the dorms.
Right. Anyway, we got that. I got a really cool escape room game that I haven't been able to a chance to play yet, but I know for one, Caitlin and I are excited about it because we both like these. Sean got me To Escape You First Must Break In, Alcatraz edition. And it looks like one of those, well, in fact, I know it is. It's one of those escape games in a box, which is really cool. And I got...
Not an escape in a box. It's a breaking and entering
breaking and entering a box. Right, you got to get in before you get out. And then Keith got me the Back to the Future DeLorean Time Machine, Doc Brown's Owner's Workshop Manual, which is a book that has basically stats and details and stuff on the DeLorean time machine from Back to the Future, which is really, really cool. And the other thing kind of sci-fi related I got was the I can't find the box because it's the second Doctor and TARDIS collector's figure. It's the normal what are they, 7-inch?
Oh, the action figure?
Yeah, the action figure. And he's got his TARDIS. It came with his TARDIS. So John got that for me because he drew my name this year. Oh, here's the box. Hang on. It was just out of reach. Second Doctor and TARDIS from the War Games collector figure set.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Couldn't remember which one it was from, so... What about you guys? What'd you get?
Sarah got a Switch. So Gemma has been wanting to play a lot of Mario Kart.
Oh, fun.
Which is fun, except she's 4. So she
does a lot of driving off the side of the track.
And she's 4. But then she loses focus and then loses and then gets upset that she lost. And so I figured out, okay, we'll make her happy. She can win the daddy. But sometimes I could not even have the controller in my hands, and I'm still in first place. I need to turn off the auto accelerate for me, I think is the key. So we've been playing a lot of that.
Well, that's fun.
And then I got the 7th Doctor final season box set on Blu-ray. Which I'm looking forward to dig into that, because I didn't realize there were so many alternate versions of the stories on that.
Yeah.
Including a special version of Ghostlight.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to digging into that. Glenn got me a really cool Doctor Who calendar, the 2022 13-month calendar, which I thought was kind of clever. January of 2023 is Jodie Whittaker. So that's how they kind of gave everybody their own month.
It's pretty cool.
And Sean got me a Scooter's gift card, which we've already started using.
What about you, Sean?
Well, I also got a 2022 Electric Boogaloo Doctor Who calendar from Glenn, which is hanging in my office, which was great. And Keith also got me the Back to the Future Doc Brown's owner's manual for the DeLorean. I almost said TARDIS. You can tell I'm tired. Which I am such a sucker for any kind of schematic diagram book.
Right.
I don't know why.
Oh, I'm the same.
Like,
same.
And I was so jazzed because I did not know this book existed. I was completely blindsided. I had no idea this thing was, because if I'd have known about it, I'd have bought it.
I was a little worried that both of you guys might have either gotten it or had seen it somewhere and picked it up, because it came out in like March of last year. So right after your birthday, Sean.
Yeah, no, off my radar.
I hadn't seen it either.
I don't know why, but I'm grateful that it was off my radar, because like I said, I'd have snapped it up. But no, I'm looking forward to digging into that. And then Mel got me I've been wanting one for a while. I have I forget the name of it, the gamer's chair.
Oh.
Reaction or whatever the name of them is. It's like an office chair, but it's a little higher tech, cool gamer's chair. And I've been wanting one for a while for when I sit and play video games. Which is so infrequently that I don't know why I need a gamer's chair. That's the kicker, is like, after I put it on my list and I dropped some hints about it, and then I opened it on Christmas Day and I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I mean, I was genuinely pumped. And then I had a moment of clarity and went, wait, when am I going to use this?
Well, you can podcast in comfort that way too.
Yeah.
Does it have the speakers in the headset?
I don't know yet, honestly. I've not really had a chance to break into it. And, we sat down and actually played a little Minecraft the other day when Glenn set up the new realm. So I got to sit in it then, but I didn't have because Mel was sitting there with me, so I didn't get to plug anything into it. I was just sitting in it, but it's very comfy. So I was happy with that. And then my other wonderful gift was a new drill. I've been really hardcore. This is how you know you're getting old, when you start asking for practical things. The chair was not a practical gift, but the drill was we've needed one. I have an electric drill that has been with me since my first marriage. Glenn will attest to how long ago that was. And it's a little 12 volt, Craftsman. It's outlived its usefulness at this point. And so I've been, for about 6 months now, every time something in the house went a little wonky, I was like, man, if only we had a new drill, I could fix that for you. I've not been subtle about the hints. And so I opened that one up. And very, very cleverly, Mel fooled me, because the first present I got to open was in a DeWitt box. And I went, oh, my drill. And I opened it up, and it was a pair of slippers. And I was confused enough that it did throw me off the scent until later on Christmas morning when I opened the drill and went, okay, there it is. But much like the chair, I really haven't had a chance to now that I have it, it's like the evil spirits have gone away and not messed up anything for me to fix.
Right.
So I haven't had the opportunity to screw anything with my new drill. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, all in all, it was a pretty good Christmas.
Yeah.
I got Mel a digital picture frame, and I've been slowly, so slowly, going through the last 15 years of memories. And man, I've said it before, I'll say it again. As soon as the surgery for the matrix plug in the back of your head is a thing, I am first in line because I want to be able to just download this stuff and upload things and be good to go. But I've been combing through things on the backup hard drives and putting them onto SD cards for her so that she'd have some pictures on her frame.
Cool.
Very ecstatic.
Nice.
This episode of Traveling the Vortex is sponsored by Audible. Audible is the leading provider of audiobooks with thousands of titles to choose from. And you're listening to this podcast, so we know you're a fan of Doctor Who. And guess what? They have lots of Doctor Who audiobooks to choose from. Newer titles like Doctor Who, The Ruby's Curse by Alex Kingston and Doctor Who, At Childhood's End by Sophie Aldred. You can also listen to titles from Big Finish's Doctor Who audio range. And Audible has audiobooks of the Doctor Who Target novelizations and much more. To sign up for a free 1-month trial, just go to audibletrial.com/travelingthevortex. Again, that's audibletrial.com/travelingthevortex. Sign up today. All right, well, shall we get into this review of the week? We finally got another Doctor Who. I say finally like it's been, very long. It really hasn't, but a month.
Been days.
It's been almost a month, I think.
No.
Less than.
Has it been less than a month?
Like, what, 2.5 weeks?
Yeah,
we have them all the way into December?
Maybe 3.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah. No, yeah, you're right.
Maybe
yeah,
3.
up until the second week of December. You're right.
Well, we've only done 2 shows since Flux ended.
I guess
We've
that's
only
true.
done one.
We did 2 shows, and we did a show.
Well, if you count this
and,
one,
no, we did a side trip, and took a week off.
Oh well, okay. I thought you meant full-fledged episode, but yeah, we did do a side trip.
Yeah, that's how I mark time.
Our last episode dropped December 7th for the Flux.
Okay. So
people ask, how many years ago was that? And I say, I don't know. How many shows have we done?
Eve of the Daleks.
Happy Nearly New Year.
Hiya, Nick.
Here we are again.
Here we are again.
Rah.
Anyone else got a proper deja vu?
We're stuck in a time loop with killer robots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does it?
It will kill everything not within its own image.
Shoot.
Should old acquaintance be forgot?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one as well.
Yeah.
It was intriguing. It was a bit intriguing because I was avoiding spoilers, but every once in a while I would see a headline after this had aired. On Saturday, I'd see a headline saying how much fun and quirky it was and how funny it was and blah, blah, blah. And so I was expecting maybe something a little different. And I went into it and I thought, well, this is fun and it's quirky, but it's not what I was led to believe, that it's like a laugh out loud, a hilarious farce or something. It's really pretty serious all the way through. And in fact, when they cast Aisling B, I thought, oh, okay, because she's a comedian, and I thought, oh, okay, she's going to be, the comic relief, and she's not really. I mean, she's got some funny moments. Don't get me wrong, but it was completely against anything I've seen her cast in, and she did a phenomenal job. So I was absolutely surprised by the tone, and it's very intense. It's very scary in parts. It makes you kind of wonder. I mean, they're going to get out of it, but it is kind of unnerving when, about 4 minutes in, your heroes are all dead. But no, yeah, I loved it. I thought I liked the concept. I had a lot of fun with the time loop nuttiness of it. It's not something that we haven't seen before, even in Doctor Who, but I think it was done to real good effect. And I think the only thing that I was a little disappointed by was I think it was obvious that it was the TARDIS that was creating the time loop. So I was a little disappointed that there wasn't more of a mystery, or there wasn't okay, I think I figured this out. Oh, wait, no, that isn't quite what you thought. But overall, I mean, the resolution for it, the way they got out of it, was all, a surprise. So it worked on that level. But that was, I think, my only disappointment was the fact that the time loop, I just automatically was like, oh, that's got to be the TARDIS doing it. And it was.
Well, I would even say that I don't think the ending was that surprising, because I felt like they kind of made it clear to us what they were going to do when they came up with the plan. I mean, once they kind of developed the plan of how to escape, it was kind of clear, oh, yep, that's how it's going to happen.
Well,
so even that, there was no real, oh, wow, that's how they did it. That's so clever. I couldn't see that coming.
I think what I meant by that was the twist of, okay, for this second to last time, we're going to do the complete opposite. So it was the way they got to the plan that they had formulated earlier that I felt was the surprise of how they were going to dupe the Daleks. I thought that was... it wasn't surprising that they did it, but it wasn't predictable. You know what I mean? The way they did it wasn't predictable.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I would agree with that part of it. I agree with everything you've said. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not quite... The Daleks could be any villain in this story.
Yeah.
And that's probably the only slight disappointment I have, is that it's not a stronger Dalek story. But that's kind of just a minor quibble, because, I don't need heavy Dalek stories every single time. They can pop up and just be the random villain. It's not a problem.
I was pretty pleased with most of it. There were a couple little niggles here and there. Nothing that I can get uber upset about, especially for a time loop. Because automatically, right off the bat, you're like, well, we're not going to dot all the I's and cross all the T's, are we? I thought the first of all, the casting was spot on. These people were fantastic. I'm not familiar with this actress as a comedian, but I really, really, really enjoyed her. I want to say that maybe I've seen something that she's been in. She sounded very familiar to me, but I don't know what it would have been that I would have known her from.
She's in that new Home Alone movie on Disney Plus.
Definitely would
remake?
not know her from that.
Oh, okay.
Nope. But I enjoyed her immensely. I enjoyed her character. I enjoyed the dynamic between her and her one client. I enjoyed the sway, kind of how we go from, is he really creepy with a storage unit full of ex-girlfriend's belongings to, no, he's just that socially awkward and yet still kind of kind, that he's under the opinion that they may actually want something back, and he's holding it for them in case. Okay, I mean, that's a good guy thing to do. That's what they call it, the oddball with the heart of gold.
Yeah.
But so all of that was good. I was prepared when we killed the Doctor, Yaz, and Dan right off the bat, which was relatively shocking. I was kind of like, okay, time loop. Because like Glenn, I had stayed away from the social media and the spoilers because I didn't want to know. And so I didn't know that that's what the premise of this was. So immediately I was like, okay, time loop. And my first thought was, oh, we're doing the, what is it, cause and effect. We're doing that episode of Next Gen where the Enterprise gets caught in the time loop and then blows up every commercial break, And then we're going to have to come back and find it. And I was prepared to kind of be negative about it. like I settled into the couch and was like, oh, all right, let's go ahead and rip off another thing. But immediately they set off on a different path. It wasn't the same loop. There were changes made in each iteration, and then they revealed the shortening of the window, which was an absolutely ingenious ticking clock mechanic.
Yeah.
To build into this episode, that every time the loop reset, they lost a minute. And that re-energized my interest immediately. It was like, oh, this is new. Okay, where are we going with this? And it was really, I thought, a cool dynamic to throw in there and kind of throw an extra problem at them.
Yeah.
Well, and plus the aspect of typical time loop stories is we see 3 or more of the exact same time loop before the character realizes they're in a time loop. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about this was they realized in loop number 2 that it was a loop.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to spend all that time treading water. We were able to get moving and get going to more of the action and more development of everything, which I appreciated also, as along with the shortening window. I thought that was a really clever dynamic.
Yeah, I really liked how everybody had that immediate sense of deja vu, and they were all kind of like, "Hey, wait a minute, something's wrong here."
And then as they were time loop, Groundhog Day. What? Same thing.
and Yaz, didn't we just get exterminated? Like, wow, you retained a lot from this one. Okay, cool. So there was a lot of, okay, this is something a little different than what we normally get out of it. Giving the Daleks a machine gun. What do we think about that?
I kind of liked it because it was more effective, and it kind of showed that the Daleks' weaponry is also versatile and upgradable and changing. We don't get the same, egg beater gun that we get all the time in most Dalek stories. So I was okay with it. I kind of liked it.
Well, it's interesting that they brought the Executioners in, especially after all the Time Lord Victorious stuff, which had the Executioners in it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of a nice, almost tie-in to that series. And I know they've been in the series before, but not very often, or not very, referenced very frequently. So I was okay that it was a different Dalek, and enjoyed that aspect of it. So I was like, oh, look, it's an Executioner, just like in Time Lord Victorious, and then didn't think another thing of it.
I hadn't even thought about that, but you're right. They were the Executioner style.
I was it didn't work for me until it did, because the fact that the machine gun aspect I both like and dislike. I think it's a very cool visual look. I like the design of the gun. I like the fact that, because it's kind of like making Cybermen fly. It's like, what do these things need to be scarier? Oh, I know. We're already in a hate-filled tank. Let's give them a rapid fire option. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, this now makes them, well, really, really difficult to get away from without being laughably bad shots. And the fact that these 5 humans managed to, 4 humans and the Doctor managed to escape all over this closed environment.
They did end up being they did end up being laughably poor shots at times. When they needed to be for the plot, they were dead on. But when they needed to be for the plot to miss them, and they're running straight down a corridor, and nobody gets hit, whatsoever. That was a bit weird.
Apparently, the trick to defeating Daleks is movement. Their visual acuity must be based on not moving, because anytime they had them trapped or cornered or in a room where they were just standing there and had surrendered, blam, they were dead. Got them nailed good. Yeah. Anytime they were running, man, the Daleks couldn't hit nothing.
And so long as they didn't duck.
Yeah, or duck. And so I'm of two minds on that. On the one hand, it's like this is a really good and logical progression of the Dalek war machine. On the other hand, it's like you kind of wrote yourself into a corner with that. I don't know how you're going to get around it other than just, and they miss over and over and over again. The other part of that was as the episode went on, and then we get the reveal that, we're here. I mean, we're here specifically because of the events of Flux, which I was kind of glad that we're not, at least not yet, sweeping it under the rug and ignoring it. This is still a post-Flux universe. And while we didn't destroy all of the Dalek fleet in that attack, we got a good chunk of it. And the Dalek's he's a little pissy about it. You know? I mean, they're very, they're taking it personal, it seems like.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, man, this is kind of almost a revenge thing. I mean, it felt very, I hesitate to use the word out of character, but it was, assigning this kind of emotion to the Dalek that they were here specifically as a revenge-motivated killing of the Doctor. But then it was, once it kind of clicked that, this is an executioner versus a standard Dalek squad. Okay, that makes a little more sense because the executioners were a little off. So that kind of, okay, I'm all right with it because they're a little wonky anyway. So it worked for me on that level.
Yeah.
Well, and in a way, this almost ties into Doctor Who the movie, in the fact of, if essentially the Doctor has stood trial and is determined to be needed to be executed, kind of like the Master. So it's not like it's not unheard of for them to execute someone based off of their prior crimes to Dalek society. So it just we didn't see a trial for this one as opposed to the Master. So that's the first thing that I thought of when they kind of revealed that was why they were after the Doctor. It was kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah.
If there's anybody out there from Big Finish that's listening, if you guys really want to go back in and plug a hole in Doctor Who lore, at least that I'm not aware that's been done yet, the trial of the Master by the Daleks, find a way to make that work. I'm really curious about that one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was going to ask you guys what you thought about them confirming what I think a lot of people had sort of suspected, especially recently, on how Yaz's feelings for the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of two minds on this one as well. I have also suspected it. I've suspected it for, I think, probably far longer than I think most people have.
Yeah, yeah.
Certainly in the second season, I think some of this was starting to maybe bubble under the surface.
Well, I think you were the first to mention it, to bring it up, among us.
I think I might have been.
Yeah.
Which I'll totally take credit for now. I don't think it was totally overt. I think it was just kind of there. I think a fandom is a weird animal, which we've kind of discussed. I don't know. At times it seems like ad nauseum when it comes to Jodie's run. And just as there's a section of fandom that does not like her as the Doctor for whatever reasons, it seems like there's another section of fandom that really, really, really wants to ship the Doctor and Yaz. And they're pushing really hard and have been for a while for these two to I don't want to necessarily say hook up, but they're wanting some sort of acknowledgement of this relationship or these feelings anyway. And so I've seen some talk recently since this episode aired this weekend that some people feel that this is reactionary writing. That this is Chibnall and the powers that be kind of giving in to that section of fandom and saying, okay, here. And I don't know that I see it that way. I think it feels to me more like a natural extension of the bubbling subtext that we've gotten through the first 3 seasons. That, this was kind of always going to be the natural end game. I'm okay with it because I happen to like Yaz as a character, and I think it makes a certain amount of sense for her weird infatuation with the Doctor, even though the Doctor's not totally kind to her a lot of times, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. Well,
Yeah.
Maybe kind is not the right word, but
It's not that she's unkind. It's that she's doesn't always think of Yaz's feelings.
maybe that's a better way to put
yeah,
it.
I would
She's
agree.
not always considerate of Yaz. How about
It's
that?
considerate.
Yeah,
Considerate's a good way of putting it.
agreed.
And, ultimately the Doctor does have Yaz's best interests at heart because, well, she doesn't want to see her killed.
Right. She's always
For whatever reason.
She's always being overprotective of Yaz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've seen that since, day one.
Yeah.
With this particular group. So I think it's kind of a natural progression of that. I don't think it's coming from out of the blue. And I'm okay with it because I kind of like it. Now, there's another part of me that, it's another new companion that's in love with the Doctor, and we've been down that road before. I get it. It's been a while, so... But, the Doctor's lovable. And that's why the show's been on for 60 years.
I sort of thought the same thing. I am on the same page, I think, as you, as I feel like this is not something that was sprung on us. I think this is something that, especially when you called it to my attention, that it was something that was already organically evolving in the story, in the series. But my first reaction was, when they did finally go there, I thought there's going to be a lot of people that are going to feel like that this was basically fans getting what they wanted, because there's been a lot of that recently. Star Wars is a good example of that. The final film was completely because of a pushback from fans to return to the status quo, and almost to its detriment. The Snyder Cut was completely, a fan thing that if it wasn't for the fans, the Snyder Cut of Justice League would not have gotten made. I even to a point, I think even though I think it was done incredibly well, I think having the other Spider-Mans cross over into the final of this trilogy of Spider-Man films also was kind of, at least feels fan generated, or a I don't want to say caving, because I don't think that these studios or these showrunners or these producers are caving to the whims of fans, but it does seem to be happening more frequently. So I thought the same thing, but I'm with you. I felt that this has been something coming and sort of bubbling under the surface, and so it felt more organic to me. So I sort of agree that I like it. I think it's fine. I think it's more representation in Doctor Who. There's nothing wrong with that. The more inclusive you can be for everyone is great. I don't think it felt unnecessarily forced at all. I don't feel like there was any sort of shoving it down my throat or any political agenda there. And so I think it felt very natural. And I think maybe even having John Bishop's character, Dan, be sort of the liaison there in drawing that out of Yaz, and it maybe wasn't his place to let the Doctor know, but on the other hand, I suppose you could argue that because there was a chance that they wouldn't survive this, if Yaz wasn't going to say something, he felt he needed to say something to her. So I did like him being kind of the liaison in this, and maybe that's what made it work even better. But I completely agree.
Well, and him telling her almost felt like it was also part of, because of that little spat they had right before she ran off.
True.
Because the Doctor told her to go, that he's like, almost felt like he was also trying to explain to the Doctor why Yaz was reacting the way she was.
Yeah, true. Good point.
And I agree with both of you. I wasn't aware of the fandom of wanting to ship the two of them together, but it felt like something that had been bubbling under the surface for a while. Other than my qualms of overall companions falling in love with the Doctor, I don't have any problems with it. It has been a while since we've had a companion moon over the Doctor, and it's never been my favorite aspect of the show, and it will continue probably to not be, but it has nothing to do with Yaz or Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah.
I think the Dan part of it might be my least favorite part of that. And I can't even say least favorite. If I have a problem with it, that's the part I think I have a problem with. I liked the conversation that Dan had with Yaz. I like the fact that he's perceptive enough to pick up on it. I like the justification that, look, I spent 3 years with you. I saw you peeking at the hologram all the time, and that you've been mooning over her. And, why didn't you just tell her, this is what happened to me. I waited too long and I lost it. And, just do it. Dan's kind of the exemplification of YOLO at this point. And Yaz is kind of just, yeah, all right, yeah, sure, whatever. And then has the opportunity, maybe this isn't the right moment, but kind of gets that backhanded go and do something else from the Doctor again, where she's being overprotective and trying to keep Yaz safe, and Yaz runs off. And Dan, being Dan, then outs her. And it's like, I don't know if that was... I don't know how I feel about that. Because on the one hand, yes. I think in a way it needed to be said. I think somebody needed to say it. On the other hand, I don't know that it was Dan's place to do it. And certainly... I mean, one would think, I guess it depends on the Doctor, because we've had doctors that should be very, very obvious what's going on and aren't, because they're oblivious to things. So I suppose it just kind of depends on what part of the relationship the Doctor is choosing to be oblivious to at this point. I get the impression that Jodie's Doctor is very aware of what's going on, and probably on some level does reciprocate those feelings. And maybe that's why she's holding Yaz at arm's length. Because she's afraid of letting her get too close. Because she knows that it's not going to be able to go anywhere. Because she's immortal and is going to outlive her. Because it's going to end badly. The standard I'm immortal problem that time travelers and immortals happen to have.
They do keep delaying that conversation about everything that happened. So
yeah,
that's a good argument.
So I think that's certainly brewing in the background. And again, it's kind of one of those, well, I applaud it on the one hand because, yeah, good for you, Dan. And on the other hand, it's like, oh, you stepped in it there, bud. I don't know that. you
definitely questions if he took away her agency to make her own decision.
Yeah, maybe that's a better way of putting it. I guess I'll have to wait and find out. I guess that's a future Dan problem. Present Dan made the call. We'll have to wait and see what happens to future Dan to find out whether or not it was the right one. But other than that, other than those few little niggles, overall, I thought it was an enjoyable romp. It was not funny. I mean, it was funny, but it wasn't. It wasn't a farce.
It had the same amount of humor as most standard Doctor Who episodes, maybe even a little more. But it was it was not by far a farce. It was by far a farce.
Now I can tell you right now what I want as far as a sequel to this episode, Jeff. I need to know exactly who this guy is and why he's storing all this weird stuff.
I want to imagine that Jeff is the guy holding the phone, watching the fireworks at the end.
Well, we've seen him
before. I thought
before.
so too. Have we?
Yeah, he was in the first episode.
That guy was, or Jeff was?
Yeah. No, that guy was. I thought that too, and then I had seen articles that the actor who was holding the phone was the crane operator in Jodie's
Oh, and the woman who fell to Earth.
first story. Now, of course, that could be Jeff, but he's credited differently.
Oh.
It was one of the trophies that Tim Shaw was hunting.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
I've blocked most of that episode, so
I saw a clickbait article and fell into it on accident. Like, what previous character was brought back? What are you talking about?
It happens.
Oh, it was like, okay, that explains that person at the end of the episode, at least. I did feel a little bit like the coupling of Sarah and Nick was fairly obvious and was going to happen, it did feel like a little bit of a stretch. Sarah didn't seem like she warmed up to him enough to make it so that they would actually wind up together.
Well, in reaction to that, I was glad that we didn't, at the end when they were, even though I thought it was a little rushed for them to be going off to travel the world together, although they did just experience death 5 or 6 times together, but I was glad that there wasn't any sort of like hugs and kissing and everything like typically could have happened in some stories. You have that quick together romance kind of thing, and then they're all lovey-dovey and holding each other. And I was glad that it still kind of felt like they were still exploring each other, exploring this relationship and learning about each other, even though they were about to run off and travel the world together. So I thought that they sort of gave us a more subtle piece of that relationship, and I think that made it work better.
You know what I liked? I liked elf storage.
The S just fell off.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I thought, okay, you're really pushing it, because who's going to name their storage elf store? I mean, I know it's a New Year's special versus a Christmas special, but come on. And then when they address it in the episode, and she says, "Oh, the S fell off," I was like, "Oh."
See, I just got that from the beginning. I thought, oh, funny, the S fell off.
No, I totally didn't think of that, and it was chef's kiss. That's how you write a joke.
So, in summary, good episode. Quite enjoyed it. It's it felt very special-ish. It felt like it felt like an encapsulated, exciting, fun, adventurous episode. I think it ranks up there high now with the specials themselves, and just had a lot of fun with it.
I was a little disappointed when they opened it. I knew it wasn't going to be this way, obviously, but when she opened the door to the TARDIS at the end, and they all walked inside wide-eyed in wonder.
Yes.
I was almost expecting a new console.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah,
I don't know why, because it's like, well, obviously she's leaving in 2 episodes or whatever. They're not going to change it now.
Right.
But it was just like, no, just mopped. We cleaned it up.
I thought the same thing. I expected a new desktop setting.
Although I will say when they left, when she ran out the door for only 7. Although, okay, I'm going to flip the switch and we only have 7 seconds to get out of here. Shouldn't you have everybody congregate at the door instead of in the back of the room behind the console and the columns and the...
To be fair, Yaz and Dan were on the other side with their back to the door, but I agree. I think I'd have had them a lot closer to the door before I threw that switch.
Speaking as someone who has had to set an alarm in a video store and then run for the door, you get everybody to the front. Okay. But I did like how all of the clockwork walls
I like
started
how the columns also looked like it was collapsing in, and they
it was a cool effect. Everything
it was
started
cool.
to move.
Yeah.
I don't know if I doubt it was practical, but it certainly almost looked like everything was actually turning and moving within the TARDIS itself. It was really cool. I'd kind of like to see something like that in the next redesign, that maybe there's a practicality of gears or something, not quite the the helicopter that Capaldi had going on, but I don't know, something. I miss the time rotor. I think that's what it is. I miss the up and down of the time rotor. All right, so we would be completely remiss in our duties to discuss this and not talk about the Next Time trailer.
Yes,
I am so excited.
I am too, and I love the design. From what I've seen, I love the design of the Sea Devil.
Just the amount of facial expression they gave it in
Yeah.
that one little clip was amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and just based on the trailer, dun dun dun. I will probably be disappointed. But
It could be the worst. It could be the worst story ever, but it had a really cool Sea Devil in it.
What if there's a Merca?
That thought occurred to me.
Yeah, I thought the same. I thought the same
This
thing.
is his chance. If Chibnall brings back the Merca, he will go down in infamy as the best, the most gutsy showrunner ever.
He'll go down in infamy. That part is for sure.
In our books, he will go down in the top of showrunners for bringing back the Merca.
Even a name drop, I think, would probably set us off.
Oh yeah.
Oh sure, yeah, absolutely.
So there's your episode title already: The Return of the Merca. Question mark.
I don't think I've been this excited for a Who episode in I don't know how long. Just that one Sea Devil got me so pumped.
Yeah, here.
I am very. My hat is off to these people for being able to reach back into the history of the show and pull these monsters and give them designs that work. That are it's because I don't think any of them that have. I mean, obviously, you know, a Dalek is a Dalek is a Dalek. A Cyberman is a Cyberman. No offense, guys, but you know, you can make the tweaks here and there, but it's still going to be what it is. There's a vast number of Doctor Who monsters that are just not updatable. We've discussed this. You know, we never ever thought we'd see a Zygon. We never thought we'd see, a Silurian or until we did.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're finding ways to bring these things into the 21st century and make them acceptable. I mean, Ice Warriors. And it works. And we're like, oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
I think there's a large part of it that goes back to the original designers. I mean, look at this design for the Sea Devil. They barely updated it. Look at the Zygon. They barely updated that. I mean, Silurian's got a massive update. But the most recent Sontarans we got was a throwback to even closer to what it was in the original. So I think the fact that
it still worked. That was the impressive thing.
Yeah. Even Ice Warriors haven't really changed that much. And the fact that they're able to update these characters just enough to make them work in the modern day with not having to adjust a lot previously, I think speaks volume to the original designers.
I think it's such a testament to the ingenuity of the prop and makeup and special effects and monsters and all the people who have been associated with it from originality to now, to be able to reach back and pull these things out and dust them off and go, how can we make this work for today's audience? And then it does. In such a way that it's, I mean, yes, the old school fans like us are going, "Ooh, isn't that cool?" But the new school fans are not rejecting it.
Yeah,
you know, I've not heard anything from anybody online saying, "Oh, that was terrible," about any of these, returning guest stars, as it were. And that to me is just such a high watermark for a show that's celebrating coming on 60 years.
Yeah,
that they can do that. And it makes, Capaldi's joke about, well, maybe it wasn't a joke, but what monster do you want to see come back? The Chumblies. Well, we're not ruling it out.
Never say never.
Well, I think it also makes you kind of wonder. I'd love to have the original designer of the Sea Devils look at this and hear what he thinks of the new design, if this is kind of what he was envisioning but just didn't have the capabilities at the time to do it. Is that what we're seeing? We have the technology to redesign and update these creatures in a way that they couldn't have done in the time they were originally created, so they just had to kind of make do. Because half the time it feels like, Doctor Who's villains were only subpar because of budgetary constraints. And now we don't have those kind of budgetary constraints, and we can do a whole lot more with them.
I mean, just when you look back at the run of the show and think of all of the, I don't want to say failures, missed opportunities with some of these monsters, the missteps, the Merca, certainly, the Chameleon, even some of the beloved ones. Look at Canine. Look at some of the weird plot contrivances we had to come up with to write him out of stories because, we're on a beach or a swamp or a, But yeah, I'm so pleased, and I am so looking forward to, for just a little snippet of a teaser of a, hey, look what we did. Oh man, am I jazzed. That was probably the best Christmas present I got this year.
It just goes to show that Doctor Who is 60 years ahead of its time.
I'm with you guys on the praise and the excitement. I'm being a little reserved because I don't want to pass too much judgment on a 3-second clip, because we could get into the episode and go, oh, wow, this doesn't look as good as I thought it was going to, and oh, why did they do that? So I'm kind of reserving judgment till we actually see the special, but I'm with you there on the excitement for it. It certainly has the brief 3 seconds that I saw of it looked amazing, and it does have me excited.
Glenn.
It does have me excited.
And then there's Glenn. Thanks for noticing reality.
They all say, who is Doctor Who?
Do you collect Doctor Who? Do you have Doctor Who items and you don't know you collect Doctor Who? For all things in the Doctor Who collecting world, tune in to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, a Direction Point Network podcast. I am Larry Van Rosbergen, your host, and I have been collecting Doctor Who for 40 years. With popular features like collection protection and the most outrageous offer, we have a lot of fun. Available anywhere you get your podcasts. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point Network podcast.
All right, so what do we got coming up on the schedule, Sean?
Well, coming up on the schedule, this is the year delving into the Time War. Boom, boom, boom. And the complete schedule, well, not the complete schedule, but the upcoming schedule of events will be posted on the website soon. Or, by the time you listen to this, it will be. And we will, for the next time, get into Shadow of the Daleks 1 and 2, along with a brief recap of Genesis of the Daleks, which is frequently considered the first shot fired in the Time War, and our year-long look at this conflict.
All right, be sure to check out our website, travelingvortex.com, for the updates on that schedule and on this podcast. And if you get any value out of this podcast, why not consider putting some value back into it? You can do that by supporting us and click on our Patreon link. Also, please consider giving us a 5-star review wherever you subscribe to this podcast. It helps bump us up in the algorithms and gets us higher in the ratings and recommendations. And make sure you join in the conversation in our listeners forum on Facebook. There you can engage with other listeners and share your thoughts and insights with us and others as well. Anything else we need to do before we close this one, guys? If not, until next time, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing ya.
Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.
Direction Point! Direction Point!
A Doctor Who podcast network.